Hello, Tracy here, and I have a layout in process called Chatting with Grandpa. And this is a layout that I did using the Studio Calico, I don't know what month kit. It's a Studio Calico kit. And I did not, before I started doing this voiceover, I didn't look up what kit it is, which month it came from, and I just really want to get this done, so I will look it up and I will put it in the description of this video before I post it. So I'm using, I had said a few videos back that I never use my edge punches anymore, and then I reorganized some stuff, and I showed you that I got the IKEA cabinet, and so I have my punches all organized in there, so they were just calling to me. So I do a bunch of edging with several different scallop punches that I have for this layout, and I'll go ahead and name those papers. That this triangle paper is it is October Afternoon Daily Flash, and it's called Girl Talk. And then that heart one is Bella Boulevard Snapshots. And that multicolored one on the bottom there is Studio Calico As Seen on TV. Love that paper. Also love this blue paper that I'm working with now. That's We Are Memory Keepers, and it's the Notable Collection. It's called Archive. Nice shot of my head there. So this, I'm digging into a newer Studio Calico kit. Just this kit screamed my son Matthew, because I think because of the greens in it and sort of the mellow tones, and so I dug into it because I just couldn't help myself. It was the perfect colors and everything for me to use for this layout. And still to come is this other paper, and I love it, and that was the first paper I saw, and I just knew I really wanted to use it. So that's basically how those papers are going to go. And here I'm looking for something to mat the pictures with. Cleaning up while I'm trying to figure it out, and then I found that off camera. I did some sewing, and now on camera I'm going to sew 2 lines of white thread all the way around the background, because I did sewing, you'll see, on the other papers, and I realized, oh, I want to sew this background paper as well, so I just decided to leave the camera running. So I'm sewing around, and then I end up putting the sewing machine away and kneading it again. So usually I do all my sewing all at one time, but this time it didn't work out that way. So there, that's about how that's gonna look. You could see I matted the picture. I've had to narrate this a couple of times, 3 times. This is my 3rd time. 3rd time's a charm. So I hope I'm not repeating myself. If I am, I hope you'll have some patience with me. So now I'm cutting from that paper, and again I'm narrating for the multiple times, so I don't know if I mentioned the name of it. I'm going to mention it again. It's We Are Memory Keepers, the Notable Collection, and it's called Listed. And then I am going to use one of those hearts, and those are twine and ink. And then I'm also going to use, well, I pull it off, but I end up losing it, which I'll tell you about in a minute. Those chipboard circles stickers are Studio Calico, and they're just called chipboard circles. So that strip of paper that I just put on the picture, and then this little circle. Wait, I gotta figure out the heart first. I switched the heart out. Now that little circle, can't remember what it said, and it's the only one that says it. And somewhere along the lines, as I'm working here, it disappeared. I have no idea where it went. I dug all through my trash because I really, really wanted it. I wanted to actually sew over it because I sew over the puffy sticker here in a minute, and I love how that looked, and I really wanted to try sewing over that circle on the paper, and it just disappears. So I'm going to be watching this video. Maybe we can figure out the mystery of the lost scrapbook scrap. I don't know. I need your help, your keen eye. Not that it would matter. It's far gone. It just disappeared. So anyway, so here I am working on this cluster, and I had sewed that's where I sewed the heart, which that came out adorable, and then I realized, oh, I want to sew family as well. So bring that sewing machine back up. And now I realize I need just a little bit of that dark blue paper to anchor that entire cluster, and that already had a scalloped edge. It was a little bit of the leftovers from that, and it just was perfect, so I loved it. So now I'm ready to start gluing my cluster together. And gotta get it just right. So these are pictures of my son Matthew. And again, I forgot what I've said on this time around or not. I think he's about almost 2 years old in this picture. And this was a Mother's Day, and we're at a nature center near us. And he's up ahead. We're just starting to take our walk, and he, went with Grandpa Ken, and they're walking along, and I can see how he's pointing, and he was such a talker, which again I mentioned in a previous video about how you can tell about your kids what their personalities are going to be like. So much of the time, this was another time where his little personality showed, because he was such a talker, and even before he had words, he would just make up words and tell stories, and he's very much a storyteller and uses, vocabulary just crazy. We laugh actually in a loving and amazed way about how he just has this ginormous vocabulary, and we get great joy from that. But it started very young for him. He was always very wordy and would describe things and explain them, but so here he is chatting with Grandpa. That's why I called this chatting with Grandpa instead of like walking or something about being on the hike. It's, for me, these pictures bring back the memories of him as that little guy, just so precious, telling his story to Grandpa Ken, and I know Grandpa Ken remembers this too, because we've talked about it many times. It was a very special time for him too. So here I am finally. What is this? He was, I said, just about 2. So 14 years later, I'm finally scrapbooking this picture. But it's so wonderful to scrapbook this way, because it brings me back. I mean, of course, it would have been nice to be able to write details about the day on this page, and if I would have been scrapbooking at that time, I could have done that, and I can't now. So that's definitely a disappointment. So don't get me wrong. I don't mean, I would far rather have done it back then. But there is a benefit. It's like I always tell my kids, there's always a positive. There's always, in in every character quality that you have, that's a huge blessing in your life. There's always sort of a downside to it too. You know, like a little too much of something is not good. And the same goes the other way. You know, when you have something where it's something you're disappointed or something that you're kind of bummed about, there's always you can always pull a positive out of it. And one of the positives of scrapbooking these now, so much later in life, is that I get to go back and enjoy those moments and really enjoy them. Not just look at the layout, but really think on the time and the day and the meaning and all of that as I'm scrapbooking. So I probably sound ridiculous and mushy and over the top, but there really is a lot of truth. I really mean it. I do. That's one of the huge benefits. So, and somebody had asked me, how do I do that? Because they're very oriented with time as they scrapbook. And one thing I did, I really thought about that, and I thought, you know, am I just willy-nilly going hog wild? But really I'm not, because what I did was I went through tons of the pictures of my kids and decided which ones did I really want scrapbooked, like to go in their albums, and some of them I had to order new shots. Some of them I already had extra pictures. Right now I'm just practicing, trying to decide which ink to use. I'm going to use that Scraptastic stamp, and I'm going to use it throughout the layout. So I'm trying to decide which color of ink do I want to use. And then right now I'm off opening my container of baby wipes. So there we go. So anyway, and then I took all the pictures that I know I want to scrapbook for them through the years and into a family album as well, or multiple family albums, and I organized them. So I have little containers, you know, the big containers from Michael's, and then I have in each little photo box I don't remember the name of the containers that I have, but I have their names on them, or a special event, or whatever, however I have it organized. And then I just pull them out every, you know, if I decide, okay, I'm going to do a few of Matthew, which is who I was working on. I go into his box and I pull out a couple of pictures, and that's what I scrapbook. And then as I'm putting them away in the albums, I have binder albums, so I can put them anywhere, 3-ring binder, and I just put them in the order of their age as I'm going along. And it works out really great for me. I love it. So, and I'm catching up slowly but surely. Not really, but kinda. So here I am putting enamel dots, and these are just from my stash. So, and the chatting and Grandpa were thickers, obviously. The ones at the top are Amy Tangerine. And then I just used the little word with from a word sticker sheet. I think it was My Mind's Eye. And I realized that didn't have the perfect enamel dot, so I switched it. And now the last thing I believe I'm going to do here is ink a little bit, which it looked so like empty spaced to me as I was finishing up, which is why I put the ink. But looking at it now, it looks good. But I do like it better with the ink on it. Something about those little splashes of ink, they just finish it all up. So I just used a couple of Mr. Huey's, a yellow and a green. And that's it. There's the close-ups. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.